AITA for refusing to give my ex-wife the letters I wrote to our daughter while I was in prison. When I was 19, I got caught up in a stupid situation with some equally stupid friends. Long story short, I was convicted of armed robbery. I didn't hurt anyone, but I was holding the gun and I was there. I pled guilty, and I was sentenced to 9 years, of which I served 6 with good behavior. I'm not proud of what I did. I paid for it. I've spent the last 12 years rebuilding my life. Before I went to prison, I was with someone I'll call Kara. She got pregnant with our daughter Lily right before I was arrested. She was 2 months pregnant when I was taken in. We had been together for about a year at that point, and we were serious, but obviously we were also just 19 and dumb. When I got sentenced, I told Kara she didn't have to stick around. I didn't expect her to wait for me. She said she wanted to try, but within a year, she told me she had met someone else and wanted to move on. I was devastated, but I understood. I told her I just wanted to be a part of Lily's life in whatever way I could. Kara didn't allow that. She cut me off completely. She said she didn't want Lily growing up knowing her father was a felon. She said it would mess her up and confuse her. She also said she didn't want to tell Lily about me at all. She wanted her new boyfriend, who later became her husband, to be her father in every way. I begged her not to do this. I told her Lily would grow up and one day want answers. I told her I didn't care if she hated me, but that Lily deserved the truth. She didn't budge. She changed her number. Her parents moved. I lost every way to contact them. My own family tried to find them for years, but they moved out of state and went completely off the grid. For 6 years in prison, I heard nothing about my daughter. I didn't know what she looked like. I didn't know if she was okay. But I never stopped writing to her. I wrote to Lily every week while I was inside. I wrote letters she would never read. I kept them all, hundreds of them. Some were just a few lines. Some were long stories about my day or memories of Kara when she was pregnant. Some were birthday letters. Some were drawings I made. I talked to her like she was there with me. I told her everything, who I had been, and who I was trying to become. I got out when I was 25 and started fresh. I worked 2 jobs. I stayed out of trouble. I got a place of my own, met an amazing woman named Rosa, and we eventually got married. Rosa knows everything. She's seen the letters. She cried reading them. For years, I thought I'd never see my daughter again. Then 2 months ago, Lily found me on social media. She's 12 now. She said she recently found out the man she thought was her dad wasn't her biological father, and that after confronting her mom about it, she found out my name and searched me online. She messaged me. She asked if I was really her dad. I cried harder than I have in a decade. We talked. At first, slowly. She was cautious but curious. I told her I'd never stop thinking about her. She asked why I was in prison. I didn't lie to her. I explained everything in an age-appropriate way. I apologized. I didn't make excuses. I told her I was trying to become a better man every day. We've now met in person 3 times. Kara doesn't approve, but Lily is old enough to make that choice, and she made it clear to her mom that she wanted to know the truth. She told me she was angry that so much of her life had been a lie. She said she's happy with her stepdad, but she wants to know me too. It's been overwhelming but amazing. Last week, I showed her the box of letters. She was stunned. She cried. She read the first few, then hugged me and didn't let go. She asked if she could have them. I told her absolutely, they were hers. She took the box home with her. 3 days later, Kara showed up at my door. She was furious. She said Lily had been reading the letters nonstop and that they were full of ideas that made her look bad. She accused me of trying to poison our daughter against her and said the letters were manipulative. She said I had no right to rewrite history and make myself out to be some loving father when I was in prison the whole time. She demanded I give her the rest of the letters and delete any digital copies I had made. I told her no. The letters are Lily's. They were always meant for her. Kara said she was Lily's legal guardian and she had a right to decide what she was exposed to. I told her Lily is almost 13 and she's old enough to decide whether or not she wants to read letters written to her. Kara called me an ex-con loser trying to make up for his guilt by guilt-tripping a child. I lost it. I told her she had stolen 12 years from me, that she had erased me from my own daughter's life, that I had every right to try to reconnect now that Lily came to me, and I wasn't going to let Kara keep controlling her narrative. Now Kara's threatening legal action, saying I've emotionally manipulated Lily with these fantasy letters. She said if I don't return all the letters and stop contact, she'll try to get a court order. Rosa says Kara's bluffing, but my parents think I should have let Kara read the letters first to avoid escalating things. I don't want to fight. I just want my daughter to know I loved her from day one, even if I was behind bars. So, AITA, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for telling my sister she can't live with me after she tried to sabotage my relationship. So I, 29F, have been with my fiancé, 31M, Tom, for a little over 3 years. We got engaged in May, and we've been slowly planning our wedding, which is set for next spring. Everything has been great between us. He treats me wonderfully, supports my career, gets along with my friends, and is genuinely one of the kindest people I've ever known. The issue is with my sister, Emma, 25F. Emma and I used to be very close growing up. We have a 4-year age gap, but our parents were often emotionally unavailable, so we relied on each other a lot. I helped raise her in some ways, and she used to say I was her safe person. Emma has always had a rough time. She struggled in school, had a few toxic relationships, and is currently unemployed after bouncing between jobs for the last 2 years. She's been staying with a friend, but recently told me she's being asked to leave and needs a place to stay. I was going to let her move in with me and Tom temporarily until she found her feet again. But 2 weeks ago, something happened that completely changed my mind. Tom and I hosted a dinner at our place with a few friends, and Emma was invited. She showed up wearing this very revealing dress, and while I don't care about what women wear, it felt inappropriate for the setting. She was also acting kind of flirty with Tom, laughing at everything he said, touching his arm, making overly suggestive comments. At one point, she jokingly said, "If you ever get tired of my sister, you know where to find me," and tried to pass it off as a joke, but it made everyone uncomfortable. Tom looked really awkward and laughed it off, but I pulled Emma aside later and told her that what she said wasn't funny and made people uncomfortable. She brushed it off and said I was being too sensitive. That would have been bad enough, but then a few days later, I got a message from my best friend, Rachel, saying I needed to see something. She sent me screenshots of a DM Emma had sent to her boyfriend on Instagram. Basically, Emma had messaged him saying that Tom was cheating on me and that she thought I deserved to know but didn't want to make it a big thing. She didn't offer any proof, of course, because it wasn't true. Rachel confronted her boyfriend, who immediately showed her the messages and said he had no idea what she was talking about. Rachel and I both believe him. He's never even been alone with Tom. It was clearly Emma stirring up drama. I was furious. I called Emma and asked her what the hell she was doing. At first, she denied it. Then she said she was just trying to protect me and that she had a feeling Tom wasn't trustworthy. When I asked her to explain why, she got defensive and said, "I don't need proof to know something's off." I told her she was being manipulative and toxic and that she wasn't welcome to stay with us anymore. She started crying, saying she had nowhere to go and that I was abandoning her just like everyone else. She accused me of choosing a man over my own blood and said I'd regret it when he eventually leaves me like all men do. Our parents have gotten involved now. My mom is telling me to be the bigger person and help my sister when she's down, and my dad, who has always been emotionally detached, just keeps saying family is family. Emma has been blowing up my phone with messages that swing between apologies and more accusations. One moment she's saying she was wrong and she'll do better, and the next she's telling me I'm a heartless bitch for turning my back on her. Tom has been incredibly supportive and told me it's my call, but I can tell he's uncomfortable with the idea of her ever living with us now. I don't blame him. I told Emma the offer was off the table and blocked her for now because the stress was getting to me. But now I'm wondering if I overreacted. My parents are disappointed in me, and a few family members are saying I should have at least let her stay temporarily until she found another place. I get that she's in a bad spot, But how do you justify helping someone who actively tried to ruin your relationship? I'm torn between feeling like I did the right thing to protect myself and my relationship, and feeling guilty for not helping someone who clearly needs it, even if she went about everything the wrong way. AITA for not letting her stay with me after what she did. AITA for refusing to give up the baby name we chose even though my sister-in-law used it first. My wife and I, both 31, have been together for 8 years, married for 3. About a year and a half ago, we found out we were expecting our first child, a girl. We were over the moon. My wife had some complications that made us believe we might never conceive, so this pregnancy was really special to us. From very early on, we knew what we wanted to name our daughter, Isla. It was a name we both fell in love with years ago when we were vacationing in Scotland. It has a personal connection for us. It's where we got engaged, and Isla was the name of the little one we stayed in. We kept the name a secret from most people, telling only close family. One of those people was my sister-in-law, Megan, my brother's wife, who was pregnant at the time with her second child. Megan gave birth to a daughter about 6 months before her daughter was due. To everyone's surprise, including ours, she named her Isla. My wife and I were shocked. We confronted her privately, not in some dramatic family event, and she acted like it was no big deal. She said the name was just really pretty and that she forgot we had talked about it. My brother, when I brought it up, told me I was being dramatic and that it's just a name. He said Megan had always liked short, pretty names and that they hadn't done it to hurt us. I'll admit I was pissed. But more than that, my wife was devastated. She cried about it more than once. That name held a lot of sentimental value for her, and seeing it used by someone else in the family felt like something precious had been stolen. She even considered choosing a new name, but nothing else felt right. So we decided we were still going to name our daughter Isla. We figured it wasn't our fault Megan used it first, and we didn't want to throw away something so meaningful to us because of her. After all, cousins with the same name aren't unheard of. Fast forward to a month ago, our daughter was born, healthy and beautiful. We posted her name and birth announcement on Facebook. Within an hour, Megan called me livid. She accused us of copying her and said we were confusing the family. She said it was disrespectful and weird that we would knowingly name our baby the same thing as her daughter, especially when hers was born first. I reminded her, not so kindly, that we had told her our name choice long before her daughter was born and that she had blatantly stolen it from us. She denied ever knowing we planned to use it and said if we cared that much, we should have picked something else once she got there first. Now my brother and Megan are refusing to come to family events where we're present. They say we've created an uncomfortable situation for everyone and are being selfish. My parents are trying to stay neutral, but have said it would have been better if one of us had backed down. I told them I wasn't going to let someone else's pettiness rob us of something that meant so much to us. My wife stands by me, though she hates the drama. A few family members have said quietly that they understand why we did it, but others seem to think we're stirring the pot. Now, every birthday, family holiday, or gathering is potentially awkward. People keep asking if we're going to call one of the girls by a nickname or middle name to keep things simple. We've said no. She's Isla, just like we always planned. So, AITA for refusing to change our baby's name, even though my sister-in-law used it first. Here's some additional context that may be relevant. Megan and I have never had a great relationship. We've always been civil, but she's one of those people who subtly competes over everything. House, car, vacations, Instagram likes, you name it. I honestly wouldn't put it past her to use the name out of spite or one-upmanship, but I can't prove that. Our daughter's middle name is also from the same trip, Skye, another Scottish island. We would have used that as a first name, but it felt a little more out there. It just doesn't feel like her. My brother has been texting me off and on saying we're being weirdly obsessed with this name and that we're trying to make a point by using it after they already did. I asked him to recall when we told him our name choice. He claims he doesn't remember any such conversation. Convenient. The family group chat has gotten quiet. Like, awkwardly quiet. My aunt tried to post a picture of our baby with the caption, "Welcome, baby Isla," and my brother immediately replied with "wrong one," and then left the group for a day. I genuinely didn't want any of this drama. We weren't trying to prove a point. We just wanted to keep the name we had always dreamed of. But now I feel like I'm stuck between standing by what matters to us and maintaining peace in the family. And here's the kicker. Megan's already said she's planning to homeschool her kids and wants very little to do with toxic influences, her words, so her daughters probably won't even grow up that close. It's not like they'll be in the same school or friend groups. So what does it matter? The part that gets me is that we picked this name for a reason. It wasn't random. It wasn't trendy. It was part of our story, something deeply personal, and she knew that. So I don't know. AITA for still naming our daughter Isla, even though my sister-in-law technically used it first. AITA for refusing to give up my first-class seat for a child on a 10-hour flight and making a mom cry. 28M, recently flew from London to Los Angeles for work. It was a long-haul flight, and because I've had issues with my back for years, my employer booked me in first class so I could be comfortable and arrive in good condition for meetings. I also have a medical note that recommends I avoid long periods in cramped spaces due to 2 herniated discs. Not life-threatening, but it causes chronic pain if I don't manage it. When I boarded, everything seemed fine. I had a window seat in first class, settled in with my neck pillow, and was looking forward to catching up on sleep. About 10 minutes before takeoff, a flight attendant approached and asked, "Would you mind speaking with a parent in economy who's having an issue?" I was a little confused, but said sure. A woman, maybe late 30s, came up holding the hand of a little boy who looked around 6 or 7. She explained that they had booked economy tickets, but there had been a mix-up with the airline, and now she and her son were in separate rows. Her son had severe flight anxiety, and she was trying to get someone to trade with her so she could sit next to him. She asked if I'd be willing to give up my seat for the 10-hour flight and take her economy seat. I politely declined. I explained that I needed the extra space for medical reasons and that this seat was booked by my company specifically for that reason. I also added that I sympathized with her situation and suggested she ask someone else in economy, maybe someone sitting near her son. She didn't take it well. She started saying things like he's just a child. He'll panic if I'm not near him. What kind of person refuses to help a kid? And eventually accused me of being selfish and entitled. The flight attendant returned, and I reiterated my position. The mom asked if the flight attendant could require me to switch since it was an emergency. The attendant told her no, that all seats were final once boarded, and she'd have to ask someone else. She stormed back down the aisle with her son in tears. A few minutes later, another passenger, some guy in his 40s in a suit, probably also in first class, leaned over and said, "That was cold, man. It's a kid. You couldn't suck it up for 10 hours. I just said, "I have a spinal condition," and put my headphones on. About halfway through the flight, I saw the mom walking her son up and down the aisle, trying to calm him. He looked panicked and was crying a lot. She looked exhausted and overwhelmed. I did feel bad, but again, I had a valid reason, and I wasn't the only one in that cabin who could have helped. When we landed, I overheard the mom on her phone saying she'd never seen such cruelty in her life, and that some people are heartless monsters. I know that from her perspective, I probably seemed cold, but I genuinely didn't think it was reasonable to ask someone to give up a medically necessary seat, especially when there were dozens of people in economy who could have offered a spot nearby her son. When I told a few people after I landed, including my sister and a couple of coworkers, reactions were mixed. My sister thinks I could have done one kind thing and just taken pain meds for the flight. A coworker said I did the right thing, and that people weaponize kids to manipulate strangers. Another said, "You made a mom cry. Maybe not the hill to die on, bro." So now I'm genuinely wondering, was I being a heartless jerk? Or was this just one of those impossible travel situations? AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay at my house after he insulted my child. 34F, have a son, Max, who is 7 years old. I've raised him mostly on my own since he was 2 after his dad and I separated. Max is my world, and I'm very protective of him. I'm also a bit of a homebody and enjoy a quiet, calm household. I work from home, and my routine revolves a lot around Max's schedule and making sure he's happy and comfortable. My younger sister, Emily, 28F, has been dating this guy, Jason, 30M, for about a year now. Emily and I have always been close, even though we have very different personalities. She's outgoing and spontaneous, while I'm more introverted and organized. Despite that, we've always supported each other. Emily recently got engaged to Jason, and the wedding planning has been a whirlwind. They live together in a small apartment, and since their place isn't big, Emily asked if Jason could stay at my house for a few days when some of their out-of-town family would be visiting for the wedding. She explained that Jason was feeling overwhelmed and needed a break from their cramped place. I agreed initially because I wanted to help Emily out. But there was one condition. Jason had to behave respectfully in my home, especially around Max. I told Emily I wouldn't tolerate any rude behavior or negativity, especially directed at my son. When Jason arrived, things were tense from the start. He seemed annoyed by how quiet the house was and complained about the childish clutter in the living room. I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe he just needed time to adjust. But things got worse over the next day. One afternoon, Max was playing with his toys in the living room. Jason walked in, noticed a pile of Max's books on the coffee table, and said loudly, "Why is this kid stuff all over the place? It looks like a daycare exploded here." Max looked up, startled, and got visibly upset. I immediately told Jason that wasn't okay. Jason then sarcastically told Max to try to keep the mess down if he wanted to have friends over, which hurt Max's feelings deeply. Max ran to his room, and I followed to comfort him. I told Emily about what happened, hoping she'd talk to Jason and set boundaries. Instead, Emily said Jason was just joking and that I was overreacting. She suggested Max needed to toughen up and that I shouldn't baby him. That really upset me because Max is sensitive, and I try to create a nurturing environment for him. The final straw came the next evening. Jason and I were in the kitchen, and Max asked if he could get a snack. Jason said under his breath, "This kid acts like he owns the place, but he's just a spoiled brat." I heard him, and I was furious. I confronted him right there, telling him to leave my house immediately. Emily got defensive and said I was making a scene and ruining her chance to have Jason and family together before the wedding. She accused me of being controlling and told me to stop babysitting Max and just let Jason be around him. I told Emily I would not allow someone who disrespected my child to stay in my home, no matter what. I told her if Jason wanted to be part of the family, he needed to learn to respect Max and me. Emily got angry and left, saying I was being unreasonable and selfish. Since then, Emily has barely spoken to me. She says I'm ruining her relationship and that I'm being unfair to Jason. But I feel like I'm protecting my son and my home. I don't want Jason to come back here unless he apologizes and shows real respect to Max. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay at my house after he insulted my child? Or should I be more tolerant for the sake of family peace? AITA for refusing to let my husband's daughter move in with us after she ruined my relationship with my son? My 42F husband, Dave 45M, and I have been married for 5 years. We both came into this marriage with kids from previous relationships. I have a son, Eli, 16M, and Dave has a daughter, Mia, 17F. When we got married, both kids lived with their respective biological parents full-time, and custody arrangements meant they were with us on alternating weekends and a few holidays. We agreed early on to prioritize peaceful co-parenting, and things were mostly smooth until about a year ago. Mia and Eli never became close, which was fine. They were polite enough, but didn't hang out much. Mia is extroverted, very involved in school drama and sports, and popular. Eli is introverted, academically focused, and into coding, gaming, and music. I always encouraged them to be respectful of each other's differences. But I started noticing little comments from Mia. Jokes about Eli being a shut-in or robot, teasing him about his clothes or the fact that he didn't go to parties. I called her out a few times, and Dave always brushed it off as normal teen stuff. She's just joking, or they'll work it out. Then things escalated. About 8 months ago, Eli came to me crying. It takes a lot for him to show that kind of emotion. He told me someone had made a fake Instagram account using photos from his private Snapchat, old Facebook pictures, and memes. This fake account posted edited images of him with humiliating captions. It mocked his appearance, his acne, His music even included a short video clip of him singing alone in his room that I'm guessing was secretly recorded. The comments were brutal, and it was spreading. Other kids at school had started laughing at him in the halls. We reported the account. It was taken down, but the damage was done. Eli completely shut down. He stopped going to school for weeks. I got him into therapy. I fought the school to take bullying seriously. But the worst part? Through an anonymous tip, Eli found out Mia was behind the account. Her IP matched the one used to create it. She had sent the video to her friends, who helped it go viral at school. When I confronted Dave, he was devastated. At first he didn't believe it, then tried to say it must have been one of Mia's friends using her phone. Eventually, he admitted it probably was her, but begged me not to destroy her future over a mistake. I was livid. Mia never apologized. Not once. She claimed it was a joke that got out of hand, and that Eli was overreacting. Dave made her write a letter, but it was cold and clearly forced. After all that, I told Dave Mia was not allowed in our house until she gave a genuine apology and took some responsibility. That meant missing holidays and birthdays. Dave was angry, but I stood firm. My priority was Eli, who still barely leaves the house and had to change schools. Now here's where the current issue starts. 3 weeks ago, Mia got into a huge fight with her mom and was kicked out. Apparently, it's a long-standing issue, and her mom told her she couldn't stay there anymore. Dave immediately came to me and said Mia needed to move in with us. Long-term. I said absolutely not. I reminded him she's never apologized, that she made Eli's life hell, that her presence would destroy the fragile progress he's made. He called me heartless, said Mia is just a kid and has nowhere else to go. I asked why she couldn't stay with his parents or siblings. He said they live out of state or don't have space. I told him I was not willing to let someone who traumatized my son live under the same roof as him. He accused me of choosing sides and said I was making him choose between his children. I told him I'd already made my choice, the child who didn't publicly humiliate another human being. He's now staying at a friend's house with Mia and barely speaking to me. His family's blowing up my phone, calling me selfish, heartless, unfit to be a stepmother. One even said I should get over it, because girls are mean sometimes and Eli will survive. Some friends say I'm right to protect Eli. Others say I'm being vindictive and should give Mia a second chance, that she's just a teenager who made a mistake. But is it really a mistake when there was no remorse? No apology, no accountability? Dave said Mia is willing to stay out of Eli's way, but to me that's not enough. Our home is supposed to be a safe space. Eli still checks the locks 3 times before bed, still flinches when he hears notifications, still asks if she'll be there when we go to events with Dave's family. And now I'm questioning everything. My marriage is cracking. Eli is watching me closely, like he's waiting for me to pick someone else over him again. So, AITA for refusing to let my husband's daughter move in with us after what she did to my son. AITA for refusing to apologize to my sister after she demanded I cancel my wedding over a disagreement about the guest list. So, here's the situation. I, 28F, have been with my fiancé, James, 30M, for about 5 years now. We met in college and have built a pretty solid relationship, despite some ups and downs. We recently got engaged, and we're planning a wedding for next summer. Things have been going mostly well, but there's been a huge problem with my sister, Emily, 26F, that's threatening to ruin everything. A bit of background. Emily and I have always had a competitive relationship. Not outright hostile, but definitely tense. We're close in age, grew up in the same house, but our personalities clash a lot. She's always been very opinionated and controlling, while I'm more laid back and independent. Our parents have usually tried to keep the peace, but they've admitted privately to me that Emily can be difficult. Now, the wedding planning started off okay. We decided early on to keep the guest list relatively small, around 100 people, because of budget and venue limitations. We also agreed with James to invite mostly close family and friends, no random acquaintances or distant relatives. Emily was upset from the start because she wanted a huge party with everyone she knows. I tried to explain that the wedding was about me and James and that we had to make tough choices. The biggest conflict started over the guest list. Emily insisted that she must invite her entire friend group, plus some co-workers and acquaintances. She said she'd bring extra people without informing us if we didn't let her add them officially. We told her that wasn't acceptable and that we had the final say on who was invited. She got angry, said we were selfish and controlling, and threatened to boycott the wedding altogether. I didn't take her seriously at first, but it became clear she was not going to back down. She even messaged some of my family members, trying to get them on her side and telling them I was excluding her unfairly. Some relatives reached out to me, confused and frustrated by the drama. I explained our position clearly, emphasizing that the wedding is our day and that we had to draw the line somewhere. Then Emily dropped a bombshell. She demanded that I cancel the wedding or drastically reduce the guest list to accommodate everyone she wanted to invite. She said if I didn't comply, she would never forgive me and would make sure no one else supported me either. She accused me of destroying family and being a selfish brat. I was floored. Canceling the wedding was out of the question, and we had already paid deposits and started planning. I told her that we were not going to rearrange the entire event for her demands, and that she could either come as a guest with a limited +1 or not come at all. I thought this would be the end of it. Instead, Emily started refusing to communicate, unfriended me on social media, and told mutual friends that I was ruining the family by being unreasonable. My parents tried to mediate, but ended up frustrated because Emily refused to listen or compromise. At this point, a few months later, the wedding is still on, but the tension with Emily has reached a breaking point. She recently sent me a message demanding an apology for how I've treated her and for cutting her out of the wedding. She said the only way she'll come is if I publicly apologize and admit I was wrong to exclude her guests. I refuse to apologize because I feel I'm being reasonable and fair. It's our wedding, and we have to decide the guest list. I also don't think I owe Emily an apology for setting boundaries or for her reaction to those boundaries. My friends and James support me, but some family members think I'm being too harsh and that I should at least apologize to keep the peace. My parents are worried this will create a permanent rift between me and Emily. So, AITA for refusing to apologize to my sister and insisting she respect our wedding plans, even if it means she might not attend. AITA for refusing to take care of my brother's toddler after he cheated on his wife. This is a long one, so bear with me. I, 32F, have a younger brother, Jake, 28M. Growing up, we were really close. I was always the responsible one, the one who looked out for him. Jake has been married to his wife, Emily, 27F, for 3 years, and they have a toddler named Sam, 2 years old. Jake and Emily's marriage has had its ups and downs, but I always try to stay neutral and supportive. The problem started about 6 months ago when Jake confessed to me that he had cheated on Emily. He was drunk and guilt-ridden when he told me. I was shocked and disappointed, but I kept it to myself because I knew their marriage was fragile, and I didn't want to ruin their family. I told him to come clean to Emily and figure things out. A couple of weeks later, Emily found out on her own. Jake's affair was with someone from his work, and when Emily confronted him, he admitted it. As expected, she was devastated. They started going to counseling, and I tried to be there for both of them, even though I was angry at Jake. Now here's where things get complicated. Since the affair came to light, Jake has been a total mess. He's admitted that he feels terrible and is committed to repairing his marriage, but he's also struggled to hold down his job and keep it together emotionally. Emily, understandably, is overwhelmed dealing with her feelings of betrayal, trying to keep the marriage afloat and raising their toddler. Because Jake was so unreliable at work and emotionally unavailable, Emily asked me if I could watch Sam a few days a week while she went to counseling and try to get her life back together. I agreed at first, thinking it was temporary and that I could help my family. I thought it was the right thing to do. At first, it was manageable, but then Jake's behavior got worse. He stopped showing up to counseling sessions, stopped trying at work, and left Emily to do almost everything with Sam and their household. He became more distant and less responsible. Emily started asking me to watch Sam more frequently, and since Jake wasn't contributing much, she expected me to help more than just babysitting. She wanted me to handle things like meals, bedtime routines, and even some light housework. It felt like I was becoming a second parent to a child that wasn't mine, and I was stretched thin. I work full-time and have a demanding job that requires a lot of mental energy. On top of that, I'm also trying to maintain my social life and personal time, which is basically non-existent now because I'm exhausted from helping them. When I told Emily I needed a break and couldn't take Sam as often, she got upset and accused me of abandoning them when they needed me the most. It hurt because I do want to help, but I can't be their crutch. Jake needs to take responsibility for his actions, and Emily needs support from her husband first and foremost. I feel like I'm enabling Jake's laziness and lack of accountability by constantly stepping in. I've tried to suggest professional childcare or family counseling to help redistribute responsibilities, but Emily is either too stressed or doesn't want to spend the money. The last straw was a week ago when Jake called me drunk, asking me to pick up Sam at 10 p.m. because he had forgotten he was supposed to watch him while Emily was out. I was furious and told him no, this is not my responsibility. Emily then texted me saying I was being selfish and not a real sister. That stung, but I'm honestly at my wit's end. I love my brother and my niece, but I don't know if I can keep sacrificing my life for their mess. Emily says she understands Jake made the mess, and I'm the one who has to fix it, and that I'm the only family she can rely on. But I feel used and exhausted. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to be my brother and sister-in-law's unpaid full-time babysitter and house manager after Jake cheated and stopped pulling his weight? Or should I just suck it up and keep helping even though it's hurting my own life? Thanks in advance. Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to help my sister after she kicked me out of her house while I was going through a mental health crisis. So, this is a long and complicated story, and I want to get everything straight from the start. My sister, Emma, and I have never really been close, but we always try to keep things civil. We're about 5 years apart. I'm 28, and she's 33. Growing up, she was always the golden child, high achiever, super responsible, and everyone's favorite. Me? I've struggled a lot with anxiety and depression for most of my adult life. I was diagnosed in my early 20s, and while I've made progress, it's been a constant battle. Anyway, last year I hit a really bad patch. I lost my job because of my mental health struggles, I was behind on rent, and I just felt completely lost. I reached out to Emma because I had nowhere else to turn, and honestly, I was hoping she might help me with a place to stay for a bit while I got back on my feet. She agreed, but things quickly turned sour. When I moved in, Emma's apartment was small but nice. She lived with her boyfriend, Jake, and they seemed happy enough. But I quickly realized she had very strict rules. No guests quiet after 10 p.m., and basically no disruption to her routine. I didn't mind trying to adapt, but my mental health episodes made it hard. I'd sometimes stay up late or be a bit loud when I had panic attacks. Emma would snap at me a lot, telling me to get it together or stop being so dramatic. One night, I had a particularly bad panic attack. I was shaking and crying in the living room, and Jay tried to help, but Emma just got frustrated. She told me I was being selfish and that I was making her life miserable. Then she said something that cut me deeply. Maybe you should just leave if you can't control yourself. I was so overwhelmed and vulnerable, but I didn't leave. I thought maybe things would get better. The next few weeks were a roller coaster. Emma got more impatient, and Jake started avoiding me altogether. I was trying to find a job and keep my anxiety in check, but with all the tension, it was impossible. Eventually, one morning Emma came home after work, looked at me, and said flatly, "Pack your stuff. You're out. I can't have you here anymore." I was shocked and devastated. I had nowhere else to go. I begged her to reconsider, explained how much I was struggling, but she was firm. So I left with what I could carry, crashing on a friend's couch for a few days. Since then, I haven't spoken to Emma. She hasn't reached out, and honestly, I don't know if she even feels bad. I'm trying to rebuild my life, but the rejection from my own sister has been crushing. A few months ago, I found a steady job in a small apartment, so I'm stable now. But when I reached out to Emma to maybe start fresh or at least talk, she ignored me. here's where I might be the asshole. A few days ago, Emma called me out of the blue, asking if I could help her with something. She needed someone to watch her dog while she went on a trip. I was hesitant, but I said yes. The dog is sweet, and I thought maybe this was a chance to mend things. I took care of the dog for a week, and during that time, I was careful not to bother Emma or Jake. But after she came back, Emma sent me a text thanking me, but also saying, "I hope you realize that living here again is off the table. You really pushed me to my limit." I didn't reply. Later that day, Emma's boyfriend messaged me saying, "Thanks for watching the dog, but you should know Emma's really upset that you didn't come to her when she wanted to talk." I didn't respond. Now, my mom is involved and is saying I'm being petty and that I should just forgive Emma because she helped me in a way. But honestly, I feel like Emma threw me away when I was at my worst, and now she expects me to just be there for her on demand. I'm tired of feeling like the bad guy. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to help my sister more, or trying to force a relationship when she was the one who kicked me out and never really supported me during my worst times. Or am I justified in keeping my distance and protecting my mental health? AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend live with us after he lost his job and home. This has been a huge source of tension in my family, and I'm honestly questioning if I'm the asshole here. I'll try to be as detailed as possible because there are a lot of moving parts. So, a bit of background. I, 29F, live with my husband, 30M, in a 3-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood. We've been married for 5 years, and we're both pretty stable financially. My sister, 27F, has been dating this guy, Jake, 28M, for about a year and a half. They met at work, and from the start, I wasn't a huge fan of him, but I try to keep an open mind because my sister seemed happy. Jake has always been kind of flaky, unreliable type. Not terrible, but definitely not the kind of person you'd rely on to have his life together. He's worked several jobs, but never really stuck with one for long. My sister, on the other hand, is ambitious and steady, and I think she's been trying to help him get on his feet. I've tried to be supportive of their relationship, but there's been some tension. Fast forward to a couple of months ago. Jake lost his job unexpectedly due to company downsizing. Then, about 2 weeks later, he told my sister that his landlord was evicting him because he'd fallen behind on rent. So, suddenly, Jake had nowhere to live. My sister called me and asked if Jake could stay with us temporarily until he got back on his feet. She said she didn't want him living with her because their relationship was still relatively new and she didn't think it would be healthy for either of them. She promised it would only be short-term, like a month or two, and that Jake would actively be looking for a new job and a place to live. I was hesitant, but didn't want to cause drama, so I told her we could let him crash on the couch in the living room for a few weeks, but I set clear boundaries. Jake needed to contribute by applying for jobs, helping with groceries, and generally respecting our space. I also made it clear this was temporary, and if he didn't start showing progress, we'd have to reconsider. The first week was manageable. Jake was mostly quiet, didn't overstay in the bathroom, and helped with small chores. But then things started to go downhill. He stopped applying for jobs seriously, spending most of his time playing video games or scrolling on his phone. He ate our food without asking, left dirty dishes everywhere, and started coming in late at night, sometimes drunk. I brought it up to my husband, who was equally frustrated but didn't want to be the bad guy because it was my sister's boyfriend. I confronted my sister, explaining that Jake's behavior was not acceptable and that this couldn't continue if he wasn't going to put in effort. My sister got defensive and said Jake was going through a tough time and needed support. She said I was being cold and unsympathetic, that I was treating him like a mooch. I tried to explain that support doesn't mean enabling, but she didn't want to hear it. Things escalated when Jake borrowed my husband's car without asking to go to a bar, came home past 2 a.m., and crashed on the couch without cleaning up. My husband was furious, and I told my sister that Jake had to leave. My sister begged me to give him another chance, saying he was trying but just needed time. I refused. I told her we had been more than patient, and Jake was not respecting our home or boundaries. I suggested she help him find a shelter or a friend's place. She called me selfish and said I was ruining their relationship. The last straw came when Jake invited some friends over without telling us. They were loud, messy, and left trash everywhere. I came home from work exhausted, saw the mess, and asked Jake to leave immediately. He got angry and started blaming me for being unwelcoming. My sister threatened to cut contact with me if I didn't let Jake stay longer, and the whole family is now involved because they think I'm being unreasonable and harsh. I want to know, AITA for refusing to let Jake stay with us after he lost his job and home? I feel like I gave him a fair chance and set boundaries, but he completely disregarded them. My sister says I'm cold and unforgiving, but I think it's about respect and responsibility. Would love to hear what you all think. AITA for refusing to babysit my nephew after my sister abandoned her responsibilities, even though my parents say I'm being selfish. This all started about 6 months ago when my sister, Jess, decided to move out of our hometown to pursue a new job opportunity in another state. Jess has always been the free spirit type, the one who jumped into decisions without fully thinking them through, and her life has been a bit chaotic for the past few years. I'm Sam, 29, and I live in the same town as my parents, and I've been fairly responsible with my career and personal life, so the contrast between us has always been noticeable. Jess has a 3-year-old son, my nephew, named Liam. She had him when she was 23, and honestly, Jess has struggled to keep things stable ever since. Our parents have helped a lot with babysitting and financially supporting her over the years. When Jess told us she was moving to a new state for her job, it was exciting news, but also worrisome. She planned to bring Liam with her, but after a few weeks, she called our parents in a panic and said she wasn't ready to care for Liam full-time. Her new job was more demanding than she expected, and the cost of childcare was higher than she anticipated. So, she proposed leaving Liam with our parents for a few months while she got settled. At first, our parents agreed, thinking it would be temporary. They have a big house and have always loved spending time with Liam. But then Jess started making more and more demands. She wanted our parents to take Liam for extended periods, sometimes weeks at a time, while she was traveling for work or socializing. Our parents started asking me if I could help out since I live nearby, and I agreed to babysit Liam on weekends here and there, but I'm not his parent and I have a full-time job in my own life. One weekend, Jess dropped Liam off on a Friday evening with no notice because she had a last-minute business trip. She expected me to watch him while she was gone, assuming I'd just take care of him until Sunday night when she planned to return. I told her that wasn't something I could do on such short notice, especially during my work week, but she insisted it was just a couple of days. I made it clear I could watch Liam for a few hours, but couldn't be responsible overnight or for the whole weekend. Jess got angry and accused me of being selfish and not caring about her or Liam. This was the start of a bigger pattern. Jess would keep sending Liam back to our parents or to me whenever she felt overwhelmed. I was never asked formally to babysit, but my parents would text me asking if I could help out with Liam. I said no more than I could handle, but it felt like I was being taken advantage of. My parents eventually told me I should be more understanding and step up because Jess is my sister and Liam is family. They said I'm selfish and not helping where I can. I got defensive because, to me, Jess made a choice to have a child and should be responsible for him, especially since she moved so far away. Last month, things escalated. Jess had a 3-week trip planned for work, and she expected our parents and me to take turns caring for Liam. Our parents agreed to keep him for most of the time, but the weekend she wanted me to watch him, I said I couldn't because of my job commitments. Jess was furious and called me irresponsible and the worst aunt. She told our parents that I was abandoning family. Our parents sided with her and gave me an ultimatum: babysit Liam or don't expect any family support or visits. I stood my ground and told them I'm not a parent, and while I love Liam, I have my own responsibilities. Jess should make her childcare arrangements and not dump her son on us whenever she feels like it. Our parents stopped inviting me to family gatherings and have barely spoken to me since. Jess posts on social media about how everyone is abandoning her and how family should come first, clearly referring to me. I don't think I'm the asshole here. I'm willing to help occasionally, but I can't take on full-time childcare for my nephew because my sister isn't managing her life. Am I wrong for refusing to babysit Liam more often, even though my parents and sister think I should do more? AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay at my house the night before their wedding because of a past betrayal, even though it's causing a huge family drama. This all started about 6 months ago when my sister, Emily, announced her engagement to a guy named Mark. I'll admit, my initial reaction wasn't great because Mark and I had a very awkward and uncomfortable history, but I tried to keep an open mind for Emily's sake. Some backstory. Mark and I used to be friends in college. We met through mutual friends, hung out a lot, and even dated briefly before realizing we weren't a good match. Things ended mostly amicably, but there was one huge issue that I never got over. Mark betrayed my trust in a way that, in my opinion, was unforgivable. While we were still friends, I confided in Mark about some personal struggles I was going through. I shared things I hadn't told anyone else. I thought he was trustworthy, but I later found out that he used that information to gossip behind my back and even manipulated some of my other friends against me. It hurt deeply, and I distanced myself from him completely. I never told Emily about this because I didn't want to cause unnecessary drama, and also because I thought it was a thing from the past that we could all move on from. Fast forward to the engagement announcement. Emily was thrilled, and most of our family was too, but I kept my reservations private. I didn't want to be the bad sister who ruined the excitement. But as the wedding plans progressed, it became clear that Mark expected to stay at my house the night before the wedding. Our family home has always been the central gathering spot for pre-wedding events, and traditionally, the couple spends the night before there. I was caught off guard when Emily asked me to make room for Mark and insisted that it was important for him to be comfortable and have space to relax before the big day. I told Emily I wasn't comfortable with Mark staying at my house. I explained that there were unresolved issues between us that made it difficult for me to share the space with him, especially the night before such an important event. I didn't go into full detail about the past betrayal because I thought it would be better to keep the peace, but I made it clear that this wasn't a small thing for me. Emily was furious. She said I was being petty and selfish and that I was ruining her wedding week with unnecessary drama. She reminded me that Mark was her fiancé and that she wanted her family to support her and accept him. She also mentioned that it was customary for the couple to be together at the family home before the wedding, and if I couldn't accommodate that, it would be a huge problem. My parents and some family members got involved, and they sided mostly with Emily. They said I should get over the past and be mature about it. They accused me of causing division in the family and making the wedding more stressful than it needed to be. I tried to compromise by suggesting Mark stay somewhere nearby, like a hotel or with other friends. But Emily said that wasn't good enough because it would make him feel excluded and uncomfortable. She even implied that if I refused, she might ask our parents to intervene or even change plans entirely. The more this escalated, the more I felt trapped. On one hand, I want to support my sister on her wedding day and be there for her. On the other hand, having Mark in my personal space, especially after everything that happened, feels like a huge betrayal of my boundaries. I have anxiety about seeing him and reliving that hurt, and the thought of sharing the night before the wedding with him just makes me feel sick. The night before the wedding came around, and I stuck to my guns. Mark stayed at a hotel, and Emily was cold toward me all evening. At the wedding, the atmosphere was tense. My family barely spoke to me, and Emily acted like I was the villain of the story. Mark even gave me a cold nod when he saw me, and I felt like the outsider in my own family. Now, some of my family members have stopped talking to me, and Emily hasn't responded to my messages since the wedding day. Others say I should have just swallowed my feelings for the sake of family harmony, but I don't know if I'm wrong to prioritize my mental health and boundaries. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay at my house the night before their wedding because of our past and the way he betrayed my trust? Or should I put my feelings aside for the sake of family peace? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior? So, this is a long one, and I'm still trying to figure out if I'm the asshole here or not. I, 32F, have a younger sister, Emma, 28F, who's always been kind of the golden child in our family. She's smart, successful, and charming, and everyone tends to overlook her flaws because she's so good at putting on a perfect front. I, on the other hand, have always been more of a quiet, introverted person who doesn't seek attention or approval the way she does. Our parents have a clear favorite, and Emma knows it, often using it to her advantage. Anyway, Emma has been dating this guy, Mark, 30M, for about 2 years now. From the start, I was wary of him. He seemed nice enough in social settings, but there was something off about the way he treated other people, especially those he didn't consider part of his inner circle. Emma brushed it off, saying I was being paranoid and that Mark was under a lot of stress with his demanding job. Over time, I noticed more incidents that confirmed my suspicions. Mark would make sarcastic or rude remarks to waitstaff, sometimes outright ignore my parents at family dinners, and whenever Emma and I talked privately, she mentioned that he could be very controlling. For example, he didn't like Emma spending much time with her friends or family, and he often guilted her into canceling plans with us, which strained our relationship. She always said it was because Mark had had a tough upbringing and just needed more understanding. Fast forward to a few months ago, Emma announced they were engaged and planning a wedding. I was happy for her, but I also knew this was going to be complicated. The wedding plans began, and it became clear Mark was going to call most of the shots, with Emma agreeing to almost everything he wanted, including things that didn't sit right with me. For example, Mark insisted on a very exclusive guest list that excluded many of Emma's childhood friends and even some family members. Emma said it was just what they wanted and that I should support them. What finally pushed me over the edge happened during the bachelor party. I wasn't invited, not surprising, but I heard from mutual friends that Mark was not just the center of attention, but also made several inappropriate jokes at Emma's expense, some borderline sexist and very humiliating. I texted Emma privately about this because I thought she deserved to know what was being said behind her back. She responded angrily, saying I was trying to sabotage her relationship and that I should mind my own business. Since then, our communication has been tense. I've tried to maintain civility, but have stayed out of wedding planning entirely. Then came the biggest issue. Emma sent out wedding invitations, and I was included, but Mark explicitly told her to keep the guest list small and didn't want anyone unnecessary there, implying me and a few others. Emma called me to ask if I would be okay with not bringing a plus one, and I said sure, no problem. But a week later, Mark insisted that I shouldn't come at all because family drama would ruin the day. When Emma told me this, she said she couldn't go against Mark's wishes because he was paying for most of the wedding. She asked me to understand and said it was better if I stayed away for now. That hurt, but I still didn't want to make a scene. However, after some reflection and talking with a few trusted friends, I realized that Mark's influence over Emma was unhealthy and that they were already treating me like an outsider. Last week, I told Emma I wouldn't attend the wedding. I explained my reasons. Mark's behavior toward me and others, his controlling nature, and the way he's isolating her from her family. I told her I love her and want her to be happy, but that I couldn't support this situation. She was devastated, cried on the phone, and called me selfish and dramatic. Our parents are divided. Mom says I should try to mend things for the sake of family harmony, while Dad sympathizes with me, but thinks I'm overreacting. The wedding is in a few weeks. I haven't spoken to Emma since my refusal, and some relatives have quietly told me I'm making things worse. On the other hand, a lot of my friends think I'm doing the right thing by standing up for myself and protecting my mental health. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior and the way he's treating me and the family? Or should I just suck it up and go for the sake of peace? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé? So, this is a long one, and honestly, I'm still trying to figure out if I'm the asshole here or if my family's being unreasonable. I, 28F, have a younger sister, 25F, who has always been the golden child of the family. Our parents have always been more lenient with her, always excusing her bad behavior and giving her the benefit of the doubt. Meanwhile, I was the responsible one, the one expected to set an example and behave perfectly. This dynamic has been a sore spot for me for most of my life, but I've mostly accepted it because, well, family is family. About 6 months ago, my sister got engaged to this guy, Jason, 27M. Right from the beginning, I wasn't crazy about him, but I tried to keep an open mind. I want to support my sister because I love her, even if we don't always see eye to eye. However, things quickly went downhill. Jason is controlling and has a temper that worries me deeply. I saw signs early on. He would interrupt my sister mid-sentence, dismiss her opinions, and once at a family dinner, he snapped at me for being too loud when I was just laughing at a joke. I chalked it up to him being stressed, but after a few more incidents, I started to feel really uneasy. The worst was when I overheard him belittling my sister on a phone call. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but it was so blatant. He was telling her she was too emotional and that she needed to grow up and stop acting like a child. My sister sounded upset, but she defended him afterward, saying he was just stressed and didn't mean it. I tried to talk to my parents about it, hoping they'd intervene or at least listen. Instead, they told me I was overreacting and that Jason was a good man who just had a tough job. They said I was being unfair by judging him without knowing him properly. Over the next few months, my sister's personality changed. She stopped reaching out to me as much and was clearly more anxious around Jason. One night, I got a frantic text from her saying she didn't know what to do because Jason had exploded at her over something minor, and she felt trapped. I immediately offered to help, suggesting she stay with me if she needed a break. But when she told Jason, he called me and threatened to cut her off from the family if she listened to me. This is when I realized how toxic this relationship was. Fast forward to the wedding planning. I voiced my concerns to my sister privately, begging her to reconsider or at least slow things down. She shut me down completely, saying I was trying to sabotage her happiness and that Jason was a good man who loved her. I told her I couldn't attend the wedding if Jason was going to be there because I couldn't support a man who treats her so badly. She blew up at me, saying I was choosing sides and being dramatic. Our parents backed her up and accused me of causing unnecessary drama and making the family look bad. Now, I'm being ostracized for refusing to attend what is supposed to be one of the happiest days of my sister's life. My parents say I'm selfish and unkind. My sister won't speak to me, and a few mutual friends have stopped inviting me to gatherings. I feel stuck. On one hand, I want to be there for my sister and celebrate her, but on the other hand, I can't pretend that everything is okay with Jason. I fear for her safety and mental health. I try to be there for her, but she shut me out. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because I can't stand her fiancé? Or should I swallow my pride and be there to support my sister regardless of how I feel about Jason? AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé walk down the aisle after he insulted my daughter during the wedding rehearsal? I've been holding this in for a while, and honestly, I'm still shook about how things went down at my sister's wedding. This is going to be long because there's a lot of background and context you need to understand why I reacted the way I did. A little about me. I'm 38F, married with a 9-year-old daughter, Lily. My sister, Sarah, is 35F and recently got engaged to a guy named Mark, who is 33M. They've been together for about 2 years, and I was initially very happy for her because she deserves happiness. Our family is pretty close-knit, so this wedding was a big deal for all of us. Now, a few things about Mark. When he first came into the picture, I thought he was okay, but over time, I noticed some red flags. He was often dismissive of my parenting choices, would make passive-aggressive comments about our family traditions, and didn't seem very warm towards Lily. Sarah seemed blind to this or didn't want to confront it because she was smitten. Fast forward to the wedding rehearsal. The rehearsal dinner was supposed to be a fun, relaxed evening to get everyone ready for the big day. Sarah asked me to help coordinate the kids, including Lily, who was the flower girl. I was happy to help because I love my daughter and wanted everything to go smoothly. During the rehearsal, everything was going well until Mark made a comment that stopped me cold. We were all gathered in the church hall, waiting for our turn to practice walking down the aisle. Lily was excited, dressed in her flower girl dress, twirling around and trying to look grown-up. Mark glanced over and said, loudly enough for a few people near us to hear, "Does she really have to be part of this? She's kind of a mess and keeps making everything slower." He sneered at Lily like she was some inconvenience. I was stunned. Lily heard it too and immediately stopped smiling. I went over to Mark and quietly but firmly said, "That was uncalled for." He smirked and said, "I'm just being honest. This isn't a daycare, it's a wedding." I was beyond furious, but I tried to keep it together for Lily's sake. I told Sarah what he said, and she just laughed nervously and told me to calm down, that Mark was just joking and didn't mean it. I told Sarah Lily is a kid and doesn't deserve to be spoken to that way, but she brushed it off. The next day, the day before the wedding, I sat Sarah down and told her I couldn't be around Mark if he continued to disrespect my daughter. I said if he didn't apologize and show some respect, I wouldn't let him walk down the aisle. Sarah said I was being dramatic and that Mark didn't have to be perfect for me to accept him. Well, come the wedding day, during the final preparations, I noticed Mark acting distant and cold towards Lily again. At the last moment before the ceremony started, he made another snide comment about how kids slow everything down. I finally snapped. I stood in front of the church entrance and told Mark he would not be walking down the aisle. I said that if he couldn't respect my daughter, he had no business being part of this important moment. Sarah was livid and tried to argue with me, saying I was ruining her wedding and that Mark is the man she's marrying. I told her I love her, but would never let anyone treat my child like that. Mark was visibly angry, but backed off. The ceremony went on without him walking down the aisle. Sarah walked in alone. Later, some guests whispered that it was awkward and unusual, but nobody knew the full story. After the wedding, Sarah unfriended me on social media and hasn't spoken to me since. Mark also called me overprotective and too sensitive. I feel awful that my sister cut me off, but I don't regret standing up for my daughter. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé walk down the aisle after he insulted my daughter during the rehearsal. AITA for refusing to help my sister plan her wedding after she completely shut me out and insulted me. This is a long one, so bear with me. I, 32F, have a younger sister, Emily, 28F, and for most of our lives, we've had a complicated but close relationship. Recently, things have gotten really messy around her wedding planning, and I'm not sure if I'm the asshole for walking away from it all. A bit of background. Emily has always been the golden child in our family. She's charismatic, confident, and often gets her way without much pushback. I'm more reserved and tend to keep to myself. Our parents have always been more vocal about supporting Emily's choices, which I guess made me feel a bit sidelined growing up. Still, I've always tried to be there for her when it mattered. Emily got engaged about 8 months ago to her fiancé, Jason. Right away, she was determined to have a big wedding, something glamorous and over the top. I'm talking about a $50,000 plus affair with hundreds of guests, fancy venues, and all the bells and whistles. Honestly, that's not really my scene, but I was happy for her and told her I'd help however I could. Fast forward a few months, and the drama started brewing. Emily has been very controlling about the wedding plans, which isn't surprising, but it's been especially focused on me. She didn't want me involved in the guest list decisions at all, which hurt because I have a lot of mutual friends and work colleagues that I thought would be important to invite. She also insisted on having her closest friends as bridesmaids, which made sense, but then she refused to have me as a bridesmaid or even give me a meaningful role, saying she wanted only people who truly understood her vision. That felt like a slap in the face. I brushed it off initially, thinking she was just stressed, but then it got worse. Emily started sending me curt texts when I offered suggestions or outright ignoring messages. When I asked to be involved in planning the bridal shower or bachelorette party, she told me she had everything handled by her friends and didn't need my input. That stung because I really wanted to celebrate with her and be part of the process. What really broke things was when Emily called me out in front of our family during a dinner about my lack of enthusiasm and accused me of being jealous of her relationship with Jason. She said I was holding her back and that if I couldn't be happy for her, maybe I shouldn't be involved at all. I tried to defend myself, explaining I just wanted to help and be included, but she wasn't having it. Our parents didn't intervene much, which was disappointing. The last straw was a few weeks ago. Emily sent me a detailed seating chart for the reception and deliberately excluded me from sitting near people I'm close to. She placed me at a table with distant relatives I barely know and who are, frankly, quite standoffish. I messaged her asking why she'd arranged it that way, and she replied that she was prioritizing friendships that mattered to her and that I was overreacting. At this point, I felt completely shut out and disrespected. I told her I wasn't going to help plan anything further because it seemed like she didn't want me involved. I also told her she was being unfair and that I expected more support and respect as her sister. She responded by accusing me of being selfish and immature and said she would handle everything on her own from now on. I've since distanced myself from the wedding planning and haven't really talked to Emily except for logistical things I absolutely have to. Our parents are disappointed in me for not supporting her, and Emily has been passive-aggressive in family group chats. Some friends think I'm overreacting and that I should just accept that it's her day and respect her decisions. So, AITA for refusing to help my sister plan her wedding after she shut me out and treated me like an outsider? Was I wrong to expect to be included and to speak up when I felt hurt? Or should I just let her have her day, even if it means stepping back and swallowing my feelings? Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos also. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.